Did you know that 90% of the startups fail when they are launched? And what is even worse is that 35% of startups fail because of the product was not market fit. And when we go one layer down, 20% of startups fail because they were not technically working properly. So you also might have found many apps in App Store which you went download, they are not working. So in next 8 minutes, I will be giving you everything you need to know if you are a tech founder, you are someone who is into a tech team, who is launching his first product, first MVP. So everything you need to know when you are launching your first product, so that whether you are a manager, whether you are an entrepreneur, whether you are a team member, whether you are going to be software developer role, you know the basics of all. So stay tuned for next 8 minutes, and there is a brief about me. Hey, my name is Jack and I'm working in IT industry from last 10 years. I started my journey as a mobile app developer and I have been working with endless number of agencies, worked with top award-winning applications and delivered brilliant product across the globe. Some of my applications have been the best rated apps, some of the products I have helped even raising their first hand out, and I am into the full stack development. So in next 8 minutes, I will make sure that you are familiar with every detailed aspect of software development. So let's begin. So starting with very first thing, which is the terminology. A lot of people, they don't know what's the difference between website, web app, mobile app. So very first thing, what is difference between website and web app? So you must have gone through those e-commerce stores, right? Which from where you can make a purchase, apply a coupon and order anything. Or secondly, you must have gone through the business websites, which are not more than just a basic about us services and all these kind of information about a business. These are actually websites. So when we say website, means these are not highly interactive. There is mostly read-only information and small actions which can be done. So these websites can be mostly done in Shopify, WooCommerce, Squarespace, Webflow. These is what website is. Then comes the question that what web app is. Now difference between website and web app is that web app is highly interactive. So when we say highly interactive means the set of functionality, it is not a limited set of functionality which can be done on the web app. And the scalability option is endless. So Facebook is a web app, Gmail is a web app. There are endless number of other applications which are web app. Now the third important thing is mobile app. When we say mobile app everyone knows is something which you install on your device. Now there are two kind of app, hybrid apps and native apps. When I say native apps means those apps which has two different code base. What that means is that you have a separate code base for iOS and you have separate code base for Android. While in hybrid, assume it as a translator. So a one code base which is translated into iOS as well and into Android as well. So when you are going with a native application, there are two developers who need to work on it, two separate maintenance of those codes. While in hybrid, there is one set of code. So one code, one maintenance, one bug fixing, and you make it live on the store. So in hybrid, usually people use Flutter, React Native, Ionic, and in native, people use Swift UI and Swift. Now this is a basic platform-wise differentiator. Now comes to first step, which is planning, documentation, and UI UX in software development lifecycle. So the very first step in any software development is the planning. So when we say planning, there are certain set of documents which are prepared. I will be keeping it very simple. The very simple documents are PRD, which is product requirement document, FRD, functional requirement document, and the next one is the user stories. I will not be going very deep into it, but a very brief about it. PRD is the requirements, like what business requirements need to be fulfilled. So like all the functionalities are there, but FRD is functional and non-functional requirement. So when we say functional, means what features are there, like there is a login, there is a sign up, sign in, and non-functional means scalability, maintainability, what's the threshold usage, what's the database recovery. This is what is considered in the non-functional requirements. Then the third thing which comes over there is the user stories. So what the user stories are? Before we dive into user story, there is another thing which is user persona. So user persona is like kind of users who will be using this app. Let's take an example of Uber. So in Uber, rider is one user persona and driver is another user persona. And third is the admin, which is the owner of Uber or that fleet. That's the another user persona. And user stories are that for each persona, writing that complete flow. In case of Uber, their user stories will be driving, getting onboarded, how he onboard, how he accept the ride, then how he process the ride, how we take that ride forward. So this is what the user stories are. So this whole comes in planning and requirement gathering phase. There are ample of other details into it, but like for first timer, this is enough. And then we move to the next phase, which is the most exciting phase, which is the creative phase. So the next phase which we move into is the UI UX. So when we say UI UX, let's not overcomplicate it. It's just like simple design of your software or app. So when we say design, what that means, I will give you a very quick and simple example. So let's say you want to build your home, right? So you hire architecture and architecture give you this sort of sketches, right? This is actually UX. So UX means how it works. And once you approve that sketches, he provide the 3D layout of that complete building, right? That is actually UI. So which is how it looks. So UX means how it works, means wireframing, what the flows are, and UI means how it looks, means color, typography, logo, branding, all these comes in the UI UX. And usually Figma is used for wireframing and prototyping. So not to overcomplicate it, so designer create a Figma link with all the mockups and screens aligned on a Figma canvas, and you can drop your comment, and once you approve it, then your product is ready for development. So development is actually building of your product, right? And the fun fact is that scope of 50% of projects gets exceeds in this particular phase. So it's very important that you plan your development phase very clearly. So in development, there are front-end developers, back-end developers, then DevOps and QA. So what are front-end developers? So front-end is anything which you can see on screen. So whether it's your mobile, you can see your app on screen, or your desktop, you can see your website or web app on screen. That is to be done by front-end team. So front-end means they work on colors, they work on designs, they work on layouts. Then the second team is the back-end team. So I will give a very simple example. You go in restaurant, you order a dish, right? Now, when that dish arrives on your table, that's the front end, the very fancy looking good dish, which looks very good, right? But the kitchen where it is being prepared, it is the back end. So what is back end? Back end is where your whole data stays, where your logic stays, right? So when you are using Facebook or Instagram, you might have seen, right? You enter your username and password, click on done, and there is a loading which says request is processing. So that request goes on the back end of Instagram, where they goes on their database, check your request and send you the response. So backend is related to your server, your APIs, your database. Then is the important part, which is the QA part or quality analyst part and deployment part. We will be talking about this in the next chapter. Any product in the world, whether it's in manufacturing, whether it's in software development, need to be quality assured. And that's what the QA or quality analyst do. So what ideally they do? A very simple language, they test the app. They test your platform, they create issues about it, which in technical language are known as bugs, and developer resolves that bugs. So this is what the role of QA is. There are two kinds of QAs. First is the manual testing, then is the automation testing. Manual means they are just manually going through your app or your website and testing your platform. Automation is they write scripts so that they have not to every time go on sign in screen, then do a sign in, then go on home. So they write scripts, and that script is run, and the result of that script is success or failure. That is being shown to user, and then the test case is marked as done or not. There are another testing as well, unit testing, which is to be done by developers, then pen testing, which is the security level testing, then load testing, which is what the threshold load, maximum number of users your software can bear at one point of time. But these are another aspects to it. Then comes the final part, which is the beta part and deployment part. Before we go on beta and deployment part, there's a quick reminder. If you have any questions, you can drop into comment. I will be more than happy to answer all your questions. Finally, after all these steps of requirement gathering, UI, UX, front end, back end, QA, we are into final stage of deployment. Deployment is something which every client dream of when they start their project, right? So deployment is sending your app to App Store. But again, there are very important points which you need to consider. First one is the UAT environment. So UAT is testing environment. So always there should be two environment. One environment is the testing environment where your development or your dirty data keeps on going on, and then is a very clean version which is the production environment, which always stay clean, which is for your live users. And then your app is sent to App Store, your Play Store. As per new policies, Google have made it mandatory that your app should be installed in 14 devices, I guess, for some X amount of days, and Apple then review it there. There might be rejections, but that can be handled by your developer. And important part, once that is done, then you need to have code documentation, access to your source codes, and ownership of this. So I guess I tried to cover the complete roadmap for a first time entrepreneur or someone who is entering in this industry, that how softwares, how mobile apps, how these tech products are actually built. If you have any question, feel free to drop me. I will be bringing on new videos on creating a tech product, on AI, on what's new in market. Make sure you subscribe me. It gives me a lot of motivation, and feel free to reach me if you have any question. Our links are in description. You can connect me or my team anytime. Till then, have a great time. This is Jagdeep signing off. Thank you.